did a lot of cool stuff. And this is a group that's looking at the mortality rate of the Earth, okay, and the things that happen from year to year. So here in the United States, from year to year, there is a certain amount of people who die, which is normal, okay? And if you look at areas that are called pandemic eras, which are pandemic years, if we have a really bad pandemic, other than the normal deaths, there'll be a spike in deaths that's much higher than that, and it shows that in the statistics. Well, guess what? This year, so-called pandemic year, the Corona pandemic year, there's no spike at all. In other words, what I'm saying is all the deaths that have occurred this year through this whole period of time has not spiked at all. It's just normal death volume that normally occurs. Well, what does that cause me? I'm a dot connector, and that caused me to think that, hey, a lot of this stuff is normal stuff that's being pointed at and showing that it's corona when it may not be. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that's showing that's exactly what's playing out. So that's enough said on that. Okay. Now let's go. I just want people to think that maybe this isn't as bad as we think it is. Okay.
Right.
So let's go ahead and look at. In fact, there's so many things to talk about. What specific, Mansa, would you like me to focus on first?
We want to focus on the info boost.
Okay.
How some of these info boosts can help, combat the so-called viruses, the so-called diseases with titles, right?
Absolutely. So let's do this. There's a number of ways this could go. First of all, I want to move a little bit into the EMS side, simply because there's an amount of evidence that is building. You won't hear this on the 5 o'clock news, but on the alternative scientists out there, and these are good scientists that are researching outside the normal standard stuff, and they're making the dots. Really strong connections in science supporting the fact that electromagnetics does impact us negatively, human biology negatively. Now, to support that, I've also gone back 50 years of research, clear back, and these are some NASA research papers. You can find, what's cool about the internet? You can find anything if you're willing to dig. Okay, it's out there. And you'll find out, if you do this digging, you'll find out that electromagnetics from the time it first appeared on our planet, which is the turn of the 19th century, it's had a negative impact on human biology. And the science now, from the scientists who created this stuff ongoing, which is buried, by the way, most of the time, because for some reason they don't want us to have us know this, is that we have a negative biology impacted by new radiation, which is electromagnetics. Okay, so the dots that are being connected by these scientists are basically saying, okay, we believe, and also we can show, connecting the dots, that electromagnetics does have a negative effect. That's not in question if you go back and read all the good solid science. Now, what do we have? What can we do to solve this problem? Okay, I did mention to you, which I'm going to mention again. There is a video that I saw of a young doctor back in New York a couple days ago. He's treating people coming in from coronavirus, and they have a protocol to use for that. But he's saying, all these patients coming in here, they're all, he said, basically, pretty much they're all oxygen deprived. Well, we happen to know that one of the side effects of an exposure to electromagnetics, as it gets higher, more of that, if you will, that the cellular uptake is diminished. In other words, you can't take oxygen into your cells, red blood cells, and therefore, you know what happens there when you can't breathe. And so, and it looks like they're pointing the finger that this is coronavirus, when the solid research behind the scenes is showing no, electromagnetics do this. And if you connect the dots, you'll find out that electromagnetics are, look at the areas of the world where we've had the biggest exposure, including in our country here in New York City, where 5G is rolled out. It's there. You look at the cruise ships. 5G is implemented in all these cruise ships. Look at all the various cities where they've had the biggest outbreaks of coronavirus, okay, and you'll find out there's another hidden component there, and that is the fact they have 5G implemented. So it makes, I'm bringing this out just for food for thought, okay, and I'm not making statements one way or the other. I believe, for me, connecting the dots, is that the 5G has a major impact in our health. I know that, and I suspect there's that 5G is impacting the coronavirus, okay, and making it more severe, and simply because the immune response is turned off and we lack oxygen, proper oxygen, and those are the things that can cause the common cold to be deadly. Okay, so having said that, what can we do? What can we do to for us, to get through all this thing? Let's just assume that all these things are bad. Let's assume that the coronavirus is bad, and let's assume that the electromagnetics is bad. Do we have ways to navigate that field to make us more safe? Well, when you look at Olympic Arc, we're distributors of a company called Olympic Arc, and Olympic Arc has some amazing technology that is different and unique compared to anything we've ever seen out there. Most of us have lived in the world where we buy nutraceuticals, vitamins and minerals and herbs and essential oils and all those kind of things, and we've been doing this for years, and there's major benefit in nutraceuticals. We know the botanical ingredients, the phytochemicals in these ingredients are helpful to biology. How we know this? Well, all you have to do, in fact, I do this all the time. Here's my cell phone, okay? And let's do this. I just thought of this right now. This would be a fun example to show you. So on my cell phone, it says, here it is. Hey Google, I can click on here, click on Google, and ask it any question I want. So let's say, let's come up with maybe an ingredient we want to take a look at. Let's say, okay, here we go. You take vitamin C. I always talk about vitamin C because everybody knows what it is. So I'm going to click on this and say, okay, tell me what are the benefits of vitamin C?
According to WebMD, vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, is necessary for the growth, development, and repair of all body tissues. It's involved in many body functions, including formation of collagen, absorption of iron, the immune system, wound healing, and the maintenance of cartilage, bones, and teeth.
Okay, now I use that as an example because everybody has this on their cell phone. You can actually do what I just did there on any ingredient. In fact, sometimes when I go in our back office, Olympic Arc's back office, they list all the ingredients. I list them all rather than alphabetic, I list in alphabetic order. And that way I can pick and choose something. You can click on any of those, especially when you have a voice-activated smart scan. We'll get into that. You can actually select anything there, click on it, and it'll give you a drop-down box and tell you historically what that product's been used for. Its claim to fame. Now, I can tell you that I think most of the time that they're right on the money, but other times they're leaving out some major components because I'm just familiar with those botanicals. And so I'll do this on my phone, just what I did there. I'll click on it and say, well, what's this botanical used for? And it'll say basically what it's for. And I pick up some great ideas there. So, oh, yeah, that's right. It's used for that. Even though it's not listed in our back office in the description, the quantum field knows all those applications. In fact, even more importantly, the quantum field knows when you select that, when your body selects this, your body is actually selecting what it wants, and it may not be for the reason that's identified in the description on that botanical, okay? And that's really important because botanicals cross boundaries in a whole bunch of different areas, and it takes a long time to go through and talk about or identify all the specific functions and historical use of that botanical. So the company, they'll do a little paragraph or a couple sentences, but sometimes these botanicals do so much more. The quantum field knows that, so when it's selecting it, it may not be for what's been identified in that description. It might be one of those things. So if you want to know more about stuff, just do what I did. I just go on Google, click on it, and I say, hey Google, it's wanting to do that right now. I ask it what botanical, and it gives me that information. So this is a way for you to to have a better understanding of the value of what we have here. So let's take a look at what I have a light bulb above me that's kind of coming in and out sometimes. So if you see the background flickering and stuff, that's just me coming in and out of my hologram. Don't worry about that. Okay.
I'm going to say that. That's just your hologram coming in and out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just fading in and out there. So in any event, let's take a look at what the company's put together. Okay, first of all, Dr. Cook has created something that he's been doing this for 30-some years. 16 of those years have been in a company called Zyto, which he sells equipment that does a lot of this kind of stuff to healthcare practitioners, thousands of them all around the world, and growing and doing quite well. He's actually a rock star in that space. Okay, and so when he's come forward and created this model we call the Olympic Art, he's been wanting to do this for a long time, but he didn't really know how to do it in this distribution channel. So we got together, discussed that, how this got going. But at the end of the day, he's put something together here so amazing. He's put something together where he's combined quantum physics, biofeedback, and then the understanding and connection between the conscious and subconscious. All these things affect biology, okay? And we have a lot of both clinical and anecdotal observations that show that. Now, in this model, he's created it. I call it a health food store. He calls it a library, okay? But it's a health food store because it has all these both formulas and ingredients in the store in virtual form. Virtual form means it's not physical. Now, I want to explain to you why that not physical solution and offering may be even more significant than the physical itself, and we're going to address that in a minute. So, but Dr. Cook has put together this model whereby the average person on the street can use this, what he calls information. It's an information corollary. The information corollary is that it is tied, the information of a botanical is correlated and tied to that botanical. And at the quantum level, and because we are holograms, our body knows intelligently and informationally exactly what that botanical is and all the applications that it's used for and what your body may want to use it for. And it harvests that information. Now, that information is valuable to the body because the body now receives that and it brings it back into balance. Now, if you look at the botanical model that we've lived in forever, okay, we buy something at a health food store or at another company over the internet or a network marketing company, and these are all typically pretty good products. They have value. But when you look at that, you can say, okay, I'm going to take this botanical, and here's what's going on, and reason why that botanical may or may not be beneficial to you. You ever ask yourself, and this happened to all of us, what happens, we've experienced this, where you have 10 people and you have this wonderful botanical that you love. It has all these values, and typically they help support the immune response. And you give it to those 10 people, and you have 3 of them that it's like a home run. It just changes their life. Then you got another 2 of them, I think I felt something. And you might have another 5 of them, I didn't feel anything at all. Okay? And so how can that happen? How's that happen? How's our biology so different that we have those kind of responses? Well, I'm going to suggest to you some reasons why that can happen. There's more than one, but I'm going to give you a couple. And that is the fact that, first of all, we all have a different makeup in our digestive tract. Some of us have really good digestive systems, and having the right probiotics and bacteria in our gut that helps us to basically consume and digest and assimilate the nutrients of things botanicals we're taking. And it all has to be a function of the thousands of types and varieties of microbes that live in our gut, which is most of our immune system. And it helps to digest the stuff and assimilate it, make vitamins, sometimes enzymes. This is all part of our digestive tract. And if our microbiome is out of balance, which most of us are because we live in a modern life, it's hard not to be in balance because all the things we're exposed to, the chemicals, antibiotics, and so on and so forth, we have made that digestive system stressed, okay, and it's not working in 8 cylinders. Now, as a result of that, these chemicals that we're taking that are good does not assimilate all of the nutrients that we want into the bloodstream. Okay, so we lose a bunch there. Is sometimes 90%. Okay, now that's one reason why, and it's because of our modern life. Okay, that's one reason why the botanical may not be as good as information. The next reason is once it gets to the bloodstream, then you think, well, it's clear flowing to the cells, right? In fact, you will hear somebody, well, if you take vitamin C intravenously, man, it's all the difference in the world. You don't have to go through digestion. It's faster. It's more effective. Yeah, it is, because you bypass the digestive process that might be compromised. But, and here's a big but, everybody, and I'll guarantee you, everybody living and hearing my voice here are loaded with toxins. How do we know that? Because the scientific studies show that we are loaded with toxins. Even so is the kind. We're loaded with glyphosates. We're loaded with aluminum. We're loaded with preservatives. In fact, I talked to a mortician once, a friend of mine, and he says, when people die, we hardly have to embalm them. Okay, they've got so many chemicals in their body, they don't deteriorate very fast. Okay, so just to let you know, that's what's going on. So here's the thing. What we know from science is that these receptors that feed the cells that line up and match up with certain nutraceutical families, okay, they can be blocked. And when they're blocked, the value of that phytochemical from the botanical that you're taking will not reach the cell and do it any good. So look at the different ways how the body may not receive what it needs when we're eating good food, when we're eating and taking good supplementation. Okay, and that's the very best scenario. So we all have this going on, and so it's kind of like Russian roulette. We don't know which receptors are blocked. It manifests over a period of time because we become sick, and eventually a disease will manifest. We know this because Dr. Linus Pauling told us as a Nobel Prize winner that that's the outcome of not receiving nutrients over a period of time. Now, let's take a look at what we have, and help me connect some dots here. We have information that's harvested, and these are information corollaries, what Dr. Cook calls it, because it's tied to the botanical that we're talking about. Now, when you take a look at the human body and the way we're designed and made, we have all been taught in school, when we take biology and chemistry and physics, that, we live in this physical world, and we're bound by all these different biochemical processes and pathways, and that's true. But when you start studying quantum physics, it takes it to a whole new level. And in other words, when you look at quantum physics, it takes that world, that physical world, that biology world that we live in, and it breaks it down to what that stuff is made up of. That's when it really becomes interesting. And that's when it really becomes more, it helps you better understand what we do with information, because information is a very big part of that world that we all have, that we're all playing in. And that is the fact that you take any material substance in our physical world, including our bodies, breaking it down to the lowest common denominator, it's subatomic information and material. And it's all not material at all, it's all energy. Everything is combined in energy. Everything in the reason why we look at stuff and it's physical, it's the way that the energy is compressed in certain energy signatures that has it manifest into whatever we're looking at. And we happen to have 5 senses in human DNA that is part of the programming of the human being that interprets that energiness as our physical experience. But the building blocks of all that is energy information. Okay? That's what's important. And now in that world, that's where Olympic Arc is a superstar. Okay? Because in that world, information and energy is everything. And this is what Dr. Cook has put together, the ability to harvest the meaningful information corollaries from botanicals, that's where we started, and have that come to the body at the lowest common denominator of our makeup, and that's our hologram. Our hologram is information energy, and that's what it's looking at. So take a look at this for a minute. If you have a disease, something going on, Dr. Linus Pauling says it's because it's a deficiency nutrients. Now, if we were to be able to say, okay, you're deficient there because you're either not eating it, it's not in your diet, or it's being blocked in some way, or not being assimilated simply because we don't have the digestion proper because of the modern stuff we're exposed to. So those are the things that can take that out. But information energy is not physical. So it handshakes. Now, what we don't know, but we do know it does, we don't know if it goes the pathway of the receptor, because see, on all your receptors, this is an amazing thing. This is why humans weren't an accident. We didn't evolve from something. Let me tell you how this is set up. The way our biology is set up, that we have these little antennas that live on cells. They give off this frequency. It's a homing device. And these homing device frequencies are lined up with botanicals found in nature. Okay, now, if you give that receptor, you eat something in the body that's not a botanical that's made in nature, there's not going to be a receptor for it. Many times, that's the reason why we have, you look at pharmaceutical drugs, you look at preservatives, you look at chemicals, you look at all these things that are man-made, there's not a hookup there. And it becomes toxic in the body, floating around trying to land somewhere. But the body addresses toxins as, first of all, what it wants to do is it envelopes it in a substance called fat. It actually creates fat to protect the organs from assimilating these toxins, okay? And then when they do, some of them do assimilate, and they get in, they're harmful to our organs. So anything that's not found in nature, okay, that has a corresponding receptor frequency, because the botanical itself, the phytochemical of the botanical, also has a corresponding frequency that lines up with the frequency of the receptor at the cellular level. It's an amazing system, and we were made this way in a perfect world where, hundreds of years ago, when we didn't have all the stuff we have today, all that stuff was running in 8 cylinders. Everything was good. We don't have that today because of our modern society and all the toxins that we're exposed to. Now, I mean, we can go into explaining how, why, and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We have this situation going on. So, the reason why I believe that Olympic Arc is a solution, and the reason why I believe it's a great insurance policy, is the fact that when we're eating, even if we're trying to eat good stuff rather than conventional stuff, and even if, many of us take supplements, okay, we think, hey, we're doing all the right stuff, okay, when in fact, if you have the toxins going on and your digestive system isn't running properly, you will be deficient, okay? Now, let's take a look at what we have to offer. The information component of all these botanicals, okay, is what the body is looking at. Our body was designed to harvest information from our environment. And let's take a look at our environment. We eat food, we take supplements, and if something gets as far as the receptor handshake, okay, and it actually gets into the cell, then at that point it appears, because that's from observation, that's when that handshake takes place, and the body receives the information that needs to balance it. But if it doesn't get into the cell because there's a receptor blockage, then what typically the observation is that over time it becomes deficient and even in disease state. Now, here's an example I want to provide you that, and I've used this example many times because it's the first thing I thought of when this happened, and that's the story of a young lady who's suffering from the symptoms of scurvy, which is a deficiency of vitamin C. So this is a real easy one, okay? Scurvy is deficiency of vitamin C. So, young lady having scurvy symptoms, eating vitamin C-rich food, taking vitamin C supplements. If you're connecting the dots from a biochemistry standpoint, there shouldn't be a problem here. There should not be any scurvy symptoms. That couldn't happen. But yet there it is. Now, how do you explain that? And how do you explain the fact that when you start giving the person who has these problems and symptoms the very information of the vitamin C corollary through what we provide is the InfoBoost, and then those symptoms just kind of vanish, you see? So one way or the other, that information is getting to the hologram and balancing the hologram and making it whole, and the symptoms go away. That shows you at the lowest level of our makeup, which is our hologram, our energy makeup, or where we store information, that's really what we're harvesting. And we harvest it from our physical environment. physical environment is the things we know is physical in our biology, and the things that we eat and drink and all those kind of things. But Dr. Cook has made this easy, okay? Somehow, over the period of his years, he's connected a lot of dots, and I'm sure he's had a lot of failures before he came up to the thing that really works. And that is, let's walk through that. Let's walk through what goes on there, okay? First of all, he set up a library of stuff, okay? I call it a health food store. And that's an ever-expanding library. Every month it expands, we get more ingredients and formulas. And so here's this library. It's just, imagine you walk into this virtual health food store. You can take anything that you want. You can take anything that you want, as much as you want, and for $100 a month. Guys, that's a bargain, okay? But it's even better than that, because you don't even have to walk into the store. You can do it remotely, and you can do it instantly. And what makes it even better is Dr. Cook created functionality in the system that instead of you trying to decide what it is that you want and need, because you've done some research and you discovered, hey, this vitamin C stuff is pretty good. Here's all the things that can help me. I think I might need some of that. So you test it out. That's what people do, okay? It may or may not work for you. You may feel something, you may not. But at the end of the day, that's the process that most people go through. But look at what we have at Olympic Heart. We have the ability of our system through biofeedback to select out of the health food store everything that's in there, what your body wants and needs and is demanding the most, and even prioritizes it based on a percentage, starting at a very high percentage. That way, you know that my body's screaming for the first one on the list, and it keeps on becoming less and less as it goes down there. That ability is amazing. And the ability for you to go ahead and identify that ingredient and learn more about it. Like if you click on it, it'll tell you what that ingredient is historically used for as a botanical, okay? Now you start getting a pretty good picture. Oh my gosh, it looks like after you see a couple, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these, start realizing, oh, my body's having an issue in maybe digestion or maybe circulation or maybe blood sugar or whatever it might be. So it gives you even a helpful hint of, hey, I got to make some changes here. But in the meantime, what this is doing, Dr. Cook has created the ability to harvest this information corollary to come into your biology through the quantum field to your hologram. Because ultimately, that's the lowest common denominator of the communications, okay? So now that you have this, the body says, oh, finally, man, I've been wanting this vitamin C for years, and you finally gave me what I need. It feels good, and it starts bringing it back into balance, and your biology follows. That's what we're about, okay? And at the end of the day, we start looking at, okay, let's expand this model. Let's make this model more effective and not just do botanicals. Now, botanicals are good because we all have a history about botanicals. We know the value of those. Now we can expand it to, unlimited almost, okay? And I suspect we'll have thousands of ingredients over years and years. And why that's so important is because now when you do this voice-activated spark scan, it's going to give your body ability to have more selections to solve a problem. Now let me give you another example, okay? And this is a personal one, and that's the best one I can give, and that's me, okay? Now, I've shared before that I've had asthma for over 10 years, and progressively it's got worse in the last 10 years. And this year I don't have it. Now, let me rehearse and go back through the mechanics I went through to get to that stage and why this is important. When I looked at it, it took me 3.5 months before I realized that my asthma symptoms had disappeared. It's 3.5 months. And so I went back all of my voice recordings and the selections that my body selected in terms of ingredients, and I made an interesting observation. I noticed one in particular, and there's of course many ingredients, and there could be a combination of things going on, but there's one that stood out to me. And here's what it is. When you have asthma, there's obviously a respiratory issue, there's a lung issue, and trying to get to the bottom of what could be causing that. Is it an allergy? Is it inflammation due to a pathogen? Is it a chemical exposure? It's a bunch of things. Am I breathing bad air? Is my biology, my digestion off? Because digestion, improper microbiome can cause that too. There's so many things that can happen that can make this happen. So your body, when it does the biofeedback functionality of the program, it selects exactly the nutrients and the ingredients and the formulas and things that your body wants and needs. And over a period of 3.5 months, doing this process, I started noticing about halfway into this experience that just feeling better. I didn't know. I didn't make this in my imagination. I was just feeling better. Okay, I sleep better. I got up better, well rested in the morning, and I just noticed that. Okay, it was gradual, but I noticed it. But at the end, I just remembered the day that I just realized, hey, I do not have any more symptoms. In fact, my wife even mentioned, Ron, you're not coughing anymore. I used to cough every 15 seconds. Okay, in the time of the year when it was the most problematic for me in the fall and winter. And I didn't have the pressure in my chest, that pressure pain anymore, and I didn't have the shortness of breath in exercising. Those are all symptoms of asthma. And it was totally gone. And I'm thinking, okay, I started going back and realizing, when did this happen? And I started looking at the ingredients. Is there any specific ones in there that might be the heavier lifters? And I identified one called lomatium. And it's because of the history of it ranked so high in the beginning, and it got less and less and less as time went on, which meant that my body needed less of that information. Okay, so when I went through that whole process, I realized maybe it looks like to me that was the one botanical that may have the biggest impact in my situation. And if you go and look at lomatium, it says lomatium is historically used for it's a deep-seated antimicrobial. In other words, it takes out fungus, bacteria, and viruses. Okay? And it's unique to deep-seated microbes that live in the lungs. And I'm thinking, okay, that's the asthma's lungs, okay? It might be a microbial infestation that it's deep-seated and I can't get rid of it. In fact, when I read more history about it, it says that people have success doing this because it's deep-seated and the immune system is unable to get it. Whether the immune system might not be running on 8 cylinders, or they discovered that it hides under mucus layers that the immune system can't get to it. So in any event, at the end of the day, that's what I experienced. And so if it wasn't for that botanical called lomatium that had been added to the library, and by the way, it's one that I found, it was just by accident that came into my plate. I thought it was interesting. Back in the day, I turned it into the company and asked them if they would add that to the library, and they did. And not knowing that might have been the botanical that helped me the most. And that's the reason why we expand the library ongoing. The input to that library comes from many hundreds of practitioners. We have many practitioners that are members of our company, and they have their history and experience with various botanicals, and eventually thousands of them. That information and request botanicals comes to us. We add it to our library. Now, the library bucket we have in that new bucket area coming in is every bit as large, if not larger, than our current library. And so that I put a lot of pressure on the company and talk to them all the time about this. But when are we going to get that in? And they're making some changes from a development standpoint, recreating things to make that an easier experience. When that's finished, they're going to be able to bring very high, these high numbers of additional botanicals in here. But at the end of the day, we have plenty in there right now. We're bringing in some every month. Of course, I'd like to have it be faster and more, but the motto is a good one. And I look at, from that example right there, how that impacted my life personally, to realize that this is just amazing stuff. This information corollary is a powerful thing. The only way that could make sense is interfacing with our hologram. Now, when you look at the other components of this, you look at the way that conscious interfaces with the subconscious. Now, that's an important component of this. I just shared with you the biofeedback, where my body helps select out of the health food store library what it wants to eat. That's a major game changer. But there's another component here, and that's the conscious and subconscious. This is all part of this quantumness that we're going to be discussing. That's important because, in fact, the name of our company is called Limbic Arc. The reason why it's called Limbic Arc is because the limbic system of the brain is the gatekeeper and the quarterback that actually analyzes. It looks at all the information that's found in the subconscious, which is a million times bigger than what's in the conscious. And it makes sense of that, all that information there, and it harvests from that subconscious specific stuff to bring into the conscious. Once it comes into the conscious mind, then the body actually utilizes. That's where it actually handshakes with our biology, okay, through the quantum realm, our hologram. So that's important. So when Dr. Cook says, okay, you selected, or your body selected through the voice activated spark scan, let's say vitamin C, keep it simple. So when you selected it and you push start on your phone to select it, you instantly receive it. No matter where you are in the world, you instantly receive it. There's no shipping charges or anything on that. It's just instant. You got it, okay? And so you're receiving this vitamin C, and it handshakes with your biology, and it brings the hologram back into balance. Now it does that through it dumps it from the cloud. Dr. Cook has created the corollary to an algorithm of the vitamin C, puts it in the health restore at the cloud. When you select it, dumps it to the quantum field at a place called 0 point. It's the field. Now, the best way for me to help you understand what this is, because if you read quantum physics and all this stuff, it can confuse you pretty quick. But let me give you a better understanding, real simple way of understanding this. Think of the quantum realm as this gigantic wagon wheel, okay? And have, what a wagon wheel looks like, has the spokes that go to the hub. Think of the 0 point as the hub of that wagon wheel, and your personal energy field, who you are, is one of those spokes, as well as everything in physical reality has its own spoke to that wagon wheel, okay? So when you selected that vitamin C, it dumps it to the hub. Now, how does it get to you, okay? Well, first of all, you're expecting it, okay? You're expecting it because you selected vitamin C. It's sent to your personal gateway, which is really your subconscious. So it's in the subconscious. Your gatekeeper, the limbic system, it knows that it's like you've got mail, so it picks it up and it delivers it. It arcs across the limbic arc to the conscious. And once it comes to your consciousness, then that information becomes real to you. Okay, this is an unbelievable model. I haven't had a conversation with Dr. Cook how he came to that conclusion. The reason why I understand it so well, and it made so much sense to me when I got with Dr. Cook in the very beginning, was because I've been trained as a therapist, and we're trained to know how to use how to tap into the subconscious. It's a powerful tool, and we want to tap into that. You have to do it through the consciousness, okay? And so then you look at that and you study quantum physics and all the magical things that are happening there. I've come to the conclusion that this quantum realm, and by the way, let's better understand that. Again, as humans, we are limited in terms of our interface with reality. For some reason, our creator decided and I have my theories behind it, but we were created to interface with a portion of reality because we only interface with 5% of the electromagnetic spectrum. That's what humans' abilities are with our senses and human DNA. But that means that 95% of the electromagnetic spectrum is something we don't interface with, but it doesn't make it any less real. That's that quantum experience. That's the quantum realm. It has its own set of laws. It's just an amazing place. But I've come to the conclusion, after studying quantum physics for a long time, tying it to the knowledge that I have in conscious, subconscious work, okay, and biology, and of course biofeedback is a major part of that. I've come to the conclusion that the quantum realm is something really good, okay? I believe that's where prayers live. That's where prayers are answered. I believe that's where, I look at that just for a fun thing. I look at the quantum realm as the genie in the bottle. Just think you're out in the forest and you find this little vase or something, and you look at it and you rub it, and of course the genie comes out and gives you wishes, okay? Well, that's kind of what the quantum realm is, but you have to understand the boundaries and limitations that it has. And it's really amazing. So let me give you an idea. By the way, Dr. Cook, he's figured this out. And he's figured out the way to do this so that every person could experience this without having to do a lot of research and painstakingly try with trial and error to figure out these things. Here's what it is. you look at the genie in the bottle, and let's say genie in the bottle is there want to give you wishes, but you have to know how to ask for the what you want. And the first thing you have to understand is you don't ask. Okay, in the study of quantum physics, we are intelligences. Okay, and as intelligences, we found out that intelligence actually acts upon the building blocks of our physical and energy reality. And these are electrons, photons, and things. And as you emote and think, you actually put into action, and actually you actually create another field. And it actually is one of those spokes that go to the wagon wheel, okay? But the characteristics are this. You have the ability to get what you want. And because we are, I don't want to call us gods, but we're embryonic gods in a sense, how this works, because here's what happens. If you have a life that's not going well, how many people fit in that category? Well, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, I love his work. You have to watch him on the internet. He basically says if your life's not going well, it's because in your subconscious, there are programs that are running 24/7, sending that intelligent message to the genie, if you will, what you want, and it will send you what that self-conscious or subconscious programming is. So if you don't like what's happening, or if you have poor health, probably there's that's going on, and we need to change that program. Okay, but it's really interesting how you do this, because as a trained hypnotherapist, we're taught how to do that. But it's only 1/10 of 1/10 or 1,000th of 1% of people that know this. Okay, Dr. Cook figured this out and put it into the model, and it's amazing. Now, let me tell you one other thing. Let's say that you are a person, I know people like this, I'm going to use this example. They're victims. They're, oh, woe is me, poor me, this and that, everything, you know something? And their life is always that way. It's because they're emoting, it's their intelligence telling the electrons of the quantum field how to create that future for them, future coming to them. And it sends that message to the quantum field, says, oh, this guy likes to be a victim, let's give him more of the same reality. That's how it works. So you don't want to do that. Or even, let's say you want something, and I use this example because I see Manso in it as a background thing, you're driving a red Ferrari. Okay, let's say that you want a red Ferrari, you don't have it yet. You put that red Ferrari picture up in your refrigerator, you look at it every day, and you envision yourself driving that red Ferrari down Coast Highway. Okay, you're already envisioning, it's yours and you're using it. That's how you send a message to the quantum realm of what you want without asking it. Because see, if you ask, the quantum realm looks at that, the genie says, oh, that means you're lacking, therefore we'll give you more lacking. You're never going to get it because you're asking for something you don't have. You have to envision it that you're already experiencing it. If you want good health, don't ask to help me solve this problem because I've got cancer or diabetes or what. Never do that, because you're always getting it the same. You have to emote that, oh man, I'm so grateful for my perfectly healthy body. Thank you so much. Have gratitude. Now, this moves us into a space where Dr. Cook created a model that allows us to happen to the average guys easily using this system called Olympic Heart. He's created in such a way that you can go starting with botanicals in a health food store and selecting that and the benefit to the body is. It's very simple and straightforward because we all have experienced that and we do that. But he's taken it to a whole new level. And the level that he's taken it to is okay, let's go beyond the botanical experience. How many health food stores could you walk into and receive the normalization of electromagnetics to the body? In other words, we've heard so much about 5G coming our way. And there's a lot of research coming up. You're going to see a lot more, by the way, as this goes forward, that 5G is negative to the human experience, okay? In fact, it's even being connected to the coronavirus. But and I believe, because I've seen the science on it, to know that it does affect biology. It impacts oxygen uptake to the cells, and it also destroys the cells and creates a poor immune response. So at the end of the day, how can we stop it? If that's true, is there anything out there that can help us? Well, Dr. Cook figured out a way to, and I had a vision that I shared with him, and I hope that was the catalyst that moved him in that direction. He created something called imponderables. Imponderables are a part of homeopathy that's not tied to a physical thing. Electromagnetics is not that physical thing. And so, and it all happened because I shared with him a dream that I had about spontaneous remission, and that's another story. But nevertheless, he put that in imponderables. He said, okay, we will create electromagnetic, we'll identify the various electromagnetic things out there, and we will create a product, our information product, that stops that neutralizes it. For example, 4G, 5G, electricity, EMF, gamma rays, infrared rays, microwave, radio waves, ultraviolet rays. I mean, it just the list goes on and on. These are all electromagnetic creations of man that affect human biology in a negative way. So in the impartable, if you do a voice scan and it comes up 4G, and at 4G is in that 80 to 90% range, that means there is an impact negatively on your body. Your body's saying, hey, I've got an issue here I'm being exposed to this, and it's ranked getting from 80 to 90 some percent, and the higher it is, the more significant it is. When you select that, your body now, Dr. Cook's created this from a homeopathy standpoint to prevent that from affecting the body. Okay, now, I've had, again, another personal experience here. I selected 4G, and I selected infrared, I think it was, it was Wi-Fi, broadband Wi-Fi. Both of those, one was 86%, one was 92%. And I was able, selecting those over a period of several voice scans over a period of a month, I was able to eliminate those, or at least have them drop off the radar. So I know that it works, and that's what's happening. We're having energy talk to energy, information talk to information, and our bodies are phenomenal, great, and it's all designed and runs around proper information and programming. That's what Dr. Cook has done. And one other last thing before I turn the time over to man several questions, and that is the fact that one of my favorite things, because I've known this has been a problem forever, because I've experienced it in my own life, approximately, and I think it's a low number, statistics show that 60 million people in our country are affected negatively by fungus and mold. Now, fungus and mold is a part of our reality. It has to be there. If we didn't have fungus and mold, if you looked out your window, you'd still see dinosaur carcasses laying out there. These are Mother Nature's groundkeepers, okay? And unfortunately, we are exposed to them, and they don't care if you're living or if you're dead. If your immune system is not running on 8 cylinders, they're going to try to take you out. And it creates all kind of weird symptoms and problems and illness and diseases that we don't even understand and know and are false diagnosed with, okay? And now we have the ability, first of all, to identify the fact that we're exposed to it. And I have this happen all the time because I know it's been a problem I've had in my life. So it identifies it, and as I do every voice scan, it shows it becoming less and less and less and less. See, the same things happen there. We have a phenomenal tool to help us achieve quantum wellness. And I say quantum wellness because it's a different kind of wellness than anybody's ever experienced in life, because we communicate at the lowest level of our makeup, and that's our holographic energy information makeup. And our bodies are here to harvest the information from our physical environment, and because of our modern way life, that is distressed, and we have problems with it. Now we have the ability to go directly to the lowest source of communication information, harvest what we need, and bring our bodies back into balance. And with that, I'm going to turn time back over to Mansa, because I think he probably wants to ask some questions.
Oh my gosh, guys, Ron Spence, you guys got to give it up for Ron Spence. My mind is blown right now. That was amazing, Ron. Thank you so much for all that powerful information. Wow. So at this point, guys, I'm sure someone has some questions. We'll go ahead and open up the lines for questions. Open up the chat here. Let me see if it's any questions. Okay, it seems like Karen has one. She's saying, I have been told that if you have a deficiency of vitamin D, your body has difficulty absorbing vitamin C. I have had vitamin D deficiency for over 2 years, and supplements are not improving it.
Okay, so that's a really good example. By the way, you're not alone. In the statistic, again, I read a lot of stuff, and I'm just remembering in various studies, vitamin D is one of the biggest, and it's actually a hormone, okay? But we call it a vitamin, it's a hormone, and it's one of the biggest deficiencies that humans have, okay? Now, the reason why I believe, okay, and some studies are research is that we don't get enough sun exposure. And particularly in the winter months, we're covered up and everything, and in the summer months, we're told to put in lotions to protect ourselves. Actually, so that you know, as you look at the real research, it's more healthy for a person to be exposed for 20 minutes to a half an hour outside, you know, as much bare skin as possible to create the natural hormone. It's the best way to assimilate and get our that hormone vitamin D3 working properly in the body. Okay, so again, that's without any cover or anything like that. Just try to get as much sun exposure as you can. That's the best way to do it. If you don't have that, of course, vitamin supplementation, it's not quite as effective. But here's what's really effective, and that's the energy information component of it. Again, when you look at everything that's happening in our body, it could be that your digestion is messed up, and guess what? Most people's are. Okay, so you're not alone. And we have all toxins in our body. You might have receptors that are blocked by other toxins, and we can even have what's called nutrient competition. That's where other vitamins get there first and blocks vitamin D. Vitamin A will block vitamin D if it gets the receptor first, okay? It probably gets there first because it's in alphabetic order, right? I'm just guessing. But any event, at the end of the day, okay, here's what's happening. You're not handshaking. So the information of vitamin D is what your body wants, which, of course, it cascades into vitamin C. It's the information at the end of the day. We're trying to harvest that information at the quantum level of your hologram. Once you get that, and that's what we're providing. There's nothing physical here that's going to be blocked. So your body receives that, and you'll notice that your body starts responding because now, for the first time, just like the example I gave the yellow rickets, scurvy and vitamin C. Finally, the symptoms went away because you got the information. Vitamin D deficiency will manifest, in a severe case, the rickets. Okay? Every nutrient deficiency will manifest in an illness and disease. But I believe we have the best solution because we're bypassing all the things that can block that.
Wow. So since we're bypassing all the things that could block that, why does the Spark scan take a little longer than doing the regular info boost?
Take a little longer in what way?
I say that when you're doing the Spark scan, when your body is actually selecting from the products, you saying that it takes a little longer to affect the body versus.
Oh, I see. Okay, affect the body. Okay, you know that I can only speculate with an answer on it because that's exactly what I saw, and I turned my asthma around. Okay, and I looked at that 3.5 months. But remember, it took me a dozen years to manifest that and have that. I mean, I had it for a long time. So, see, we're taught in a Western medicine that you take this pill and wake up in the morning, you're better, right? It doesn't work that way, okay? It takes years to develop a problem. Don't expect it to happen and solve that problem overnight. The body, you see, as we replicate cells, for example, stomach cells, we replicate every 3 days. Nerve cells, it takes 1.5 years. It goes from one extreme to the other. So to fix a problem in the body, how long it ever takes to replicate cells to make new, better cells with the things that they need, it takes time to do that. And we have, typically in 1 year, we're a new person. Most of our 90+% of our cells in our body are replicated within a year. So you have a cycle there that we have to reprogram the cells to make perfect cells over a period of time. That doesn't happen overnight.
Awesome. Let's see here.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Ron, can you share the best way to what you say when you're doing the Spark?
Oh, okay. Okay, that's actually a very good question, Michelle. In fact, the Dr. Cook does this the same. With Dr. Cook, I remember I was in a meeting with him not too long ago. We had that discussion, and he shared with me what he's doing. I said, "Oh, that's what I do too." But it's just because we're probably more knowledgeable about the way to get stuff from the genie. Okay, remember the genie's a quantum field, and if you do the wrong stuff with the genie, you get the wrong results. So the example that I gave you was that when I do a voice scan, I always say, okay, I'll say I may say my name, although I know the field knows who I am. I'll basically say I'm so grateful for my perfectly healthy body, maybe over and over again. Okay, but you have to emote what it is that you want as though you already are enjoying it. That's how you do this. That's where you get the most bang for the buck, and asking the quantum field genie giving us what we want. Okay, that's the best way to do that. Never emote anything negative in your voice scan, or someone say, well, I got this problem with cancer or diabetes, so I'm going to refer to that to help fix that. That's the worst thing you can do, okay? Because the quantum field looks at that and says, oh, they like that, let's give them more of the same. So you always have to, gratitude is an emotion that's very important in the quantum field, being grateful for an experience that you want but you don't have as though you're already experiencing it. That's the best way to do it.
So speak it into existence, basically, right?
Exactly. You're in command. You are the intelligence. What we know from science is intelligence commands the building blocks of our reality.
Wow, that's powerful.
Can you say that again?
That's powerful.
Oh, that's powerful. Okay.
Can you say that again?
Okay. The intelligence, that's who we are. We are intelligence that's occupying a holographic image, okay? But we're in charge. Intelligence commands the building blocks of our reality. In other words, our intelligence acts upon the building blocks, which are electrons, that builds our reality, that creates fields that are spokes to the hub on the quantum field. But anyways, at the end of the day, it's real simple. Our intelligence is what creates and commands our reality. Okay, and you have to do it in the right way. You have to do it in a positive way, and gratitude and love is the best way to accomplish that.
Got to stay thankful and grateful, my friends.
Yep.
Absolutely. So is it okay to say my infinite intelligence is my subconscious?
There's a lot. That's a whole program. That's a whole program to go into nitty-gritty there. But it's an expansion of it. Your subconscious, when we think of our mind, that's where everything is. It isn't. There is an aura around your body that contains all this information. It's tied to you. Okay. The subconsciousness is an expansion of that. See, I look at the subconscious as your personal conduit to the quantum world, which is enormous. Subconscious is enormous too, but it's the quantum field it's everything, okay? And your subconscious is your personal gateway there. Now, just to explain something here, Dr. Bruce Lipton basically said that if we have something negatively programmed in our subconscious, we need to identify that and get rid of it. Now, we can do that through hypnotherapy, okay? And most people don't know that. But Dr. Cook, down the road here, later on this year, is creating the ability to, I had specific conversations with him to develop this, and because I want to know if it can be done. And he shared with Ron, it can be done. It can be done. So it's harder, okay? But what when we do this, imagine this. When we have the emotional imponderables that are linked in the library, and now your body basically says, first of all, it's going to select, what it does on the botanicals is select the emotional things that it needs. For example, if you have fear in your subconscious running and you're creating bad reality for it because you have fear emoting, sending it to the genie, you like fear, okay? Well, then the counterbalance to that would be love, okay? So if you're by the way, guys, I think we're all going to select love. I think it's all going to be part of the deal. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, when we have us voting that 24/7, coming back to the subconscious, it will normalize and reprogram the negative programming that's there that we inherited through our human DNA. So I believe this is going to be a game changer. I'm excited that Dr. Cook's on that journey, and sometime this year we're going to be able to experience that.
Wow, so new product coming, guys. So stay tuned, get locked in at the beginning of this. This is absolutely awesome. Ron Spence, if there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting.
You know what? I wanted to add something, man. So
okay.
See, everything Ron elaborated on, right? We're just tapping into something that's bigger than all of this and deeper than this. Like Eastern yoga, you know, from my heritage in India, this is just the basics of it right here. And real yoga is control of your whole mind and what you're projecting out of it, right? Energy, forces, gravity, nature. Like we can control all of that stuff just from our mind. That's how powerful it is. Like yesterday, Art said we only tap into 2 to 5% of our brain. Imagine the people using 10% and more, just 10%, the double digits. That's how powerful this brain is. That's why I would say mindset separates the best from the rest, because everything Ron just elaborated on, it's a deeper core power inside of us. You know, we're just trying to unlock it, understand it, control it, and then project it out.
Okay. One last comment, man, so before we
Go
leave,
ahead,
and it has to do with what Steve just said. He just turned on a light bulb for me. So just the other day, I came across some research. I can't remember the gentleman's name right now. And he's discovered a way to use his mind to do something in his body, and they've actually set tests up on him, and see if he can do this. Here's what it is: he can be submerged in ice cold water, where it's so cold it's ready to freeze, and a person can stay in there a couple, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and that's it. You know, any longer hypothermia will die, all that kind of stuff. This guy can stay in for 2 hours, okay? And they said that's impossible. And he says, I can, through my mind, I can heat up the tissue in my skin, send all that warmth to my skin, and I can stay there as long as I want to stay there. And so the scientists said that's impossible. So they hooked up monitors to his skin, and they said, oh my gosh, he can actually do that. He actually emotes and thinks, I can send energy and warmth to my skin, and he could stay right under the water, wouldn't kill anybody, and he's just fine. So that shows you the power of the mind, and that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah, that's right.
I can put my hand under the hot water for a long time.
But I suspect
Boiling water too.
Hey guys, I suspect that's how certain people can walk over hot coals and not be burned.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Same
Just
concept.
gotta push it right out your mind, and it.
But all I'm saying, hey guys, here's what I'm saying, guys. At the end of the day, let's close it here. At Limbic Art, Dr. Cook has created a model for dummies, all the dummies, okay, that we can all experience this to a certain extent using Limbic Art. We don't have to be the masters and all this stuff. We have a system here that allows us to experience this for the average guy in the street.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron Spence, for your time. We all enjoyed it. Everybody say thanks to Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Mind over matter.
Mind over matter. Incredible discussion, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Sandra, Greg.
So much.
See you guys.
All right, peace and blessings, guys.
Bye.
Mind blown.
Yes,
I love Ron.
I know he really explains in such a way that it's so much easier to understand.
every time.
Absolutely.
He kicks it in layman's terms, is what they call it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm glad I record these so I can go back over and take notes of what he be saying every time, man.
Yeah,
Stay tuned for the watch party, guys.
yeah.
Yes, good things.
Peace and blessings.